Hi Jen, welcome to my channel and thank you for being here and for your time today. And it's good to meet you. You are a product manager in mobile with Workday, and we would definitely love to know your experience of being a product manager at Workday. When I joined Workday, it helped me really realize that who I am as a person. Being at Workday, my experience helped me self-discover myself. I would ask you to give a little introduction about yourself and also share your product journey with Workday so far.
Well, it's great to meet you as well, Cheryl. Even though we kind of met virtually, our time at Workday didn't quite cross over, even though obviously I still can see you, your evidence of you in our systems. So your name was absolutely familiar to me. So I've been in product for actually coming up for 20 years at this point. And I started my journey as a business analyst. Back in the day where we did 100-page specification documents and handed them over to development and there was no communication between us. Then I worked in companies that adopted Agile, and I moved more into a product ownership role where I was working specifically with squads. And then as I kind of expanded my roles in other companies and I started managing product people, I kind of moved into a product management role where quite often the difference was that I kind of had a responsibility across squads, not not in a single squad. I had to kind of marry ambitions across squads against strategic themes and things like that. So that's kind of how my journey in product kind of has evolved over time, as not only I've kind of been growing in experience, but also product itself has changed massively in the time I have been doing it. But when I came to Workday, the role that I was enticed by was the mobile role. I was aware there was a single team in Dublin, and that they spent a lot of time working with teams on the West Coast of North America, so in Canada and in California. And, a lot of it was about making sure that we were aligned with there, but also making sure that we were aligned with our apps teams. And I'm also someone who loves B2B. That is kind of unusual. Most product people I have worked with, they would say that they have a real passion for customer facing and B2C. But I've had a really great product mentor who kind of said, B2B is really B2B2C. Yeah. There's always a user at the end of it, but you also have to think of a customer in the middle as well, who may have slightly different motivations from those users. So it's just a more complex, more interesting problem to solve. So something that I have a bit of experience from in my past life that I was able to bring to Workday and kind of, say that, I have this passion for the end user and seeing that, but I'm also aware that we have this B2B relationship that is the foundation of what we do. And you can't kind of focus in on the user and forget about the person who is, signing the contract to get the software into that company. Like I said, it's just a more complicated problem, more moving pieces, more exciting. So I really enjoy that. So that's kind of a whirlwind tour of why I came to Workday, what I love about that kind of environment, the kind of how I've kind of progressed in product. I made it sound like it was a journey without any kind of pitfalls. It wasn't, but it was, I kind of glossed over those. But it was, as kind of product has evolved, I think that, one of the things I love about this job is it's never predictable.
True.
I start my day with a list of things I'm going to achieve. If I can get half of them crossed out, brilliant. But I can guarantee by the end of the day, I will have written about another 5 things on there that I was not.
Jen. That's the beauty of this role, that every day is so new, it's exciting, and we are, as product managers, are discovering this role every single day. There is always something new and exciting and innovative to work on. So that is my experience as well. When I joined Workday, I was still thinking that what I really need to do with my own life, what is a career I really want to be in that will give that fulfillment, and also as human beings we get really bored of repetitive tasks as well. It's just our human nature. So when I started involving with product managers, with different teams across the board, UX, Scrum. So one of the interesting aspect of my role at Workday as a QA engineer was that I got a lot of opportunities to collaborate across the board. So working with Voda Group was so exciting. With Sarah and David Denham, we worked very closely in those Scrum Master workshops and organizing story mapping, ways of working workshops. So being very active across the board with different teams, and that offered me to learn different skill sets. Kind of gave me that eureka moment that, wow, this is what I love. I love working with different teams. I'm a great collaborator. I'm a networker. And this really suits me. So closely connecting with business, and also thinking about the customers and other various aspects of this role. So, and that's when I realized, okay, I will love product. And I started taking some front door mobile responsibilities, and also with mobile as well. Prior to joining Workday, I had no experience with mobile, and I literally fall in love with mobile. So many things changed in my life after joining Workday. It was almost like an awakening for me in my career. So one question I would have for you is that I'm a product owner at the moment, and I see that you have had the same journey. You have transitioned from PO role to a PM role. Were there any challenges when it comes to transitioning? Because I still see that POs are considered differently to PMs. And maybe it's a stereotype right now that needs to be, we need to break in the market, that POs don't have complete skill set to transition into a PM role. But recruiters usually would ask you questions that as a PO, what capabilities would you bring to a PM role? So did you have those challenges when it comes to transitioning from PO to PM, or did you have to upskill into certain areas to transition into a PM role? Because another aspect is that my current role as a PO, it's a blended role. PO responsibilities and PM responsibilities are so embedded. So on one stage, as a PM, I'm working with my stakeholders and doing a lot of analytics. I work with go-to-market on the go-to-market strategy with CX teams and other marketing teams across the board. I'm closely involved with the head of technology, product, and other leadership to drive the roadmap. And on the other side, I'm working with development teams to develop or to deliver our iterations. When we go by the books, POs are mainly known to be closely working with development teams, and PMs are more working on a higher level to identify the roadmap, the strategy, the vision. So share with me your opinion on this difference in the roles.
It's one of those things that always comes up at product conferences. What is the difference between a PO and a PM?
Yes, it's complicated.
And I think I've definitely got a few books. I think there's the product book, a couple of books by Marty Kagan, which touches on these kind of areas. Now, in kind of like in the past, what I would say is product owner and product manager as terms, I saw as being kind of really dependent on the company I was working for.
Okay.
Some companies who had adopted Agile massively were doubling down on you are a product owner. And they didn't even have product management. Some of them would just have program management.
Right.
And the product owners were kind of doing a product manager, product owner, and business analysis skill as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've worked in companies where they just don't have product owners. Everyone's a product manager. But kind of where you've got kind of companies where they do kind of differentiate, where I've seen them do it is they've kind of said, right, product owners, you are in the squad and you are the voice of product for
Right.
that squad.
Yeah.
The product manager will maybe be literally sometimes the manager of the product owners, and they'll have them on that Spotify model of having tribes and clans.
Yeah.
That, you know, right, the product manager is
That's great. You have mentioned Spotify model, and I love that model so much. So much in the favor of it. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Jen.
It's one of those things that I'm not even sure that Spotify is aware of the impact they've had on the industry with that model, because I've seen a number of companies adapt to it, and you know, it's one of those things where you wonder if when they did the TED talk or the talk at the conference where everyone suddenly picked up the idea, that, you know, they realized it would have this impact on the community.
And we love it. We love working that way.
I'm a big advocate for working in an empowered product group, whether that group is a clan, a squad,
or a tiger team.
Org.
Yeah,
it's more for me about the principles behind which you do things. And I think, you know, for a team to be truly successful, you need to give it the tools it needs to be successful.
Absolutely.
I mean, that might seem like of course you do, but it isn't that easy. You need that design resource. You need access to UX researchers. You need the trust of people.
Absolutely.
To, you know, we have explored this area. This is what we have learned. This is why we may have intended on doing X, but we have learned and we're now doing Y. And people need to trust that, hey, those guys are going to be accountable for that. I mean, the trust isn't free. You're accountable for what it is that you do. But also learning, there's a bit of forgiveness on a few mistakes as well.
Yeah.
Even with the best UX and data in the world, things will never work out 100% as you predicted it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
A plan is the best point of view at a point in time. Things change, you know? So I've got off the topic here of POs and PMs. What can we do to kind of bridge the gap between being a PO and a PM? So I think really it's all about strategy, and it's, most POs will kind of say, I am strategically aligned, but it's also about evolving the strategy and kind of feeding into kind of, you know, usually strategy there'll be themes, and those themes will evolve, and you will learn more about them and you will refine them, and it's being a voice in that. The other thing I would say about my journey from being a product owner to a product manager was I was a very efficient product owner. I kind of thought of myself as someone who did my job very, very well.
Yeah.
And that should be enough to get me to the next level.
Right.
It wasn't enough to get me to the next level.
Yeah.
I needed to bring everyone else on the journey of how I was capable. I knew I was capable. Yeah. I think there's a great quote from Carla Harris who says, it isn't enough that you can do the job. It isn't even enough if you are doing the job. You have to make sure that everybody knows that, you know, you can do the job. Because the decisions that get made about you aren't made about you because somebody doesn't like you. They're made about you because somebody doesn't know you. Taking people on the journey of, I know how to do this strategy stuff. Absolutely. I have changed the strategy based on what I have learned. Right. And it's showing people that you are
definitely
that product manager.
True, absolutely. I'd like to share my experience when I joined, when I attended Grace Hopper conference 3 years ago, and Dave gave me that opportunity to go and attend that conference, and that's when I learned about amplifying, that women who need to grow their career into leadership role or managerial roles, they need to amplify constantly, because people won't know about your skill set, your capabilities, until you really talk about it. And we humans are so good at judging each other and assuming things about each other. So in order to be there where you want, you need to constantly put yourself out and tell what you're capable of to everyone who is surrounding you, so that once that opportunity arises, you are there in their mind.
Yeah.
to consider you. So I completely agree with that. And from there on, I learned the power of amplifying, and I still do it. It might look like an overshow, but I still try to put myself out that I can do it. I have this capability. Facilitate me, and I will prove the caliber I bring to the team. And so I completely love this idea of just make everyone aware of what you can do. Yeah.
And not just what you can do, but what you want to do as well.
Want to do as well. Lovely.
Because you can't, like, the way, like, I've had some great managers. The best managers in the world can't read your mind.
Yes. Oh, right.
So you have to tell them. You have to tell them, I want this.
Yeah.
Because they aren't going to guess. There isn't a checklist that they get that says, right, where is this person on this journey? Right, this is the next step for them.
Yeah.
It isn't. There isn't something like that managers get. You have to tell them, this is what I want, and then they can work with you.
True.
But you can't expect them to read your mind. And like, I'm telling you, these are some hard fought lessons I learned, because I did expect managers to read my mind. Right. I did expect doing a great job was going to be enough for me to be magically rewarded with the dream I had. And that's not because I had bad managers, it's because I didn't know how to use good managers.
True. And I think that's what I really loved about Workday's culture, is about continuous feedback to your manager, as well as those bi-weekly chats with the managers as well, and make them aware of what you really want to do in your career. And Workday also provides you that fertile environment to try to figure out your own career, where you want to go. They provide you that environment to explore yourself. So into product management, I'm sure you must be reporting to the head of product currently. So how do you find those feedback sessions with your leadership into product space? Yeah, so that would be really good to know.
So I report into the director of mobile product, Layla, in California. Is she in California? No, she's in Washington. She's in Seattle. And, we have regular catch-ups. We're on kind of Slack constantly. And it's one of these things. I'm actually going to meet her next week for the first time. We've been working together a year, and I'm really looking forward to meeting her and the rest of the senior product team for mobile. It really looking forward to kind of making those kind of real life connections.
Yeah.
And
also you're traveling to States as well, and that's
yes.
Are you traveling to Washington?
No, we're heading to the San Francisco office, because the Workday headquarters is in Pleasanton, so it's a commute away. So I can meet a lot of the partner teams that I work with on a regular basis as well. So I want to make the most of my time there, because traveling in the new climate that we are in is a privilege. Yeah. So I have to absolutely maximize it when I'm there. Also as well, when you work asynchronously with teams, it can be difficult to make that real connection with them. So, I have to take every opportunity I can to, be present and, get kind of, a real person as opposed to an avatar on Slack that they occasionally
definitely, Jen. So even technology cannot replace the in-person interaction and that emotional EQ aspect of it. Raul, I learned EQ from Raul, and I still have Raul's book with me, and I keep going back to it again and again on how can I be a better emotionally intelligent human being, and it matters so much. And I think that made it a lot easier for us to work virtually when COVID happened, because I did get a whole mobile team I got an opportunity to go to States and meet the colleagues. So it just made our when we went virtually, the whole experience really nice and comfortable. We knew each other's aura, personalities, and so it does matter.
And I think you're kind of touching on something that's really important in the product role as well, and one that maybe people don't pick up until unfortunately, later in their careers. And it's what I was saying to you about being a good product person in your own environment is great, but it's not enough to kind of move on. You have to be someone who can be empathetic with the demands from other teams. It's something kind of like that I've kind of learned the hard way as well. In my early 20s, I was probably a very mouthy, very defensive of my own team. Anyone who wanted something from us that was out of my plan, it was a big inconvenience, all this kind of stuff, because I had my team's back. But then kind of like as I've got older, I kind of realized that, you know what, everyone I work with is at least as good as me. Most of them are usually better. And when they come to me, they have a problem. And I'm in a privileged position where I can maybe help them. And, you know, that's a good thing because that establishes a relationship. It's not an inconvenience. You know, we can work on a solution together. It's an opportunity. And it took me a long time to kind of realize this. The other thing that I kind of learned in my career as well was, you know, when you kind of look at a system and it's not a system you have built up, you see a lot of problems in it. And your immediate assumption is, well, whoever did this is not as good as me because I would never have done that.
Right.
People make the best decisions they can with the information they have at the time.
True.
It is, especially when you work in kind of companies like Workday, where the standard of the people we have here are just excellent, you know? Even if you see something and you think, well, I wonder how that happened, it will have been for the best of reasons. And at the time, it will have been the right decision to make.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, that's kind of a perspective I have to bring to my team is like, hey guys, there's a totally capable team out there who made this call. I'm going to assume they had a good reason for making the call. And it wasn't to annoy you in 2 years' time. It was because they were solving a problem at that time. And it's had unforeseen circumstances.
Right.
So demonizing, you know, it's not healthy. It's not a healthy discussion.
Not healthy.
You know?
Yeah. And it's a great message for everyone who is gonna listen to this conversation, because I'm sorry, I need to confess this, because I can do it as well in my role.
I've done this, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very good learning and a message for me too, that scenarios and situations have been different back then, and now we know more than we knew before. So yeah, not to undermine the work that's been done before.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I think that's true about other people's perspectives as well. A company I previously worked with before Workday, we were a very sales-focused company, which really aggravated the development area, because the sales guys would be like, hey, we've got this new contract, it's dead exciting, we need all this new stuff, and the dev team would be like, we're not finished building the other stuff you asked for, you know? And you've signed it, you've got it timed out, or, you know, and the sales guys would have been like, we've worked really hard to get this. This is really important for the company. And development weren't feeling that excitement. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand why development weren't feeling that excitement. That was like getting your roadmap ripped up every time a big contract gets done is absolutely, you know, really difficult to deal with. But understanding those perspectives, so often there's not a right answer and a wrong answer. There's just different shades of right answers. And finding the one we can, like the one that makes sometimes the least amount of people unhappy is the one you have to go for, you know? True.
That's the one we have to go for. That's true. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And I think that emotional intelligence part of the product role is so important. A previous boss used to refer to product as the translators in chief of a company, that they would translate business issues, and they would also translate the development issues to either party so that both perspectives were understood. And it kind of meant you were almost felt, I think the phrase I used was, I almost sometimes felt a bit wishy-washy, that I wasn't able to kind of articulate kind of a clear point of view, because I had so many different points of view that I was having to take into account and having to kind of rationalize into the least worst decision sometimes.
Right.
But that in itself is a power. I struggled with it a lot in my 30s because it was, I'm quite a determined person. I don't like kind of faffing around and, being unorganized and things like that. So this kind of took me a bit of learning to kind of appreciate how I rolled up all these perspectives and paid them all the due they needed to be paid and presented them to everyone and let other people kind of be part of that decision-making process. When I kind of, earlier on in my career would have felt, we'll just do it this way.
Right.
So emotional intelligence, I think, is definitely a superpower in product, that if you can do that early on, you are bound for leadership roles later down the road. People like me who take it a little bit at a time to learn those lessons the hard way, we learn them the hard way, and our progress is kind of slower because of it. But sometimes lessons hard earned kind of stick with you.
Right, absolutely. And Jen, so into the product management space at Workday, what new is happening? How do you see 2023 as? Are the product trends changing? Just to see, find your opinion on how do you see this 2023 is going to be?
So I think, it would be kind of disingenuous of me not to mention the massive tech layoffs we have going on in the entire software industry at the moment. So I think what that really does is it really focuses you in on value.
True.
You have to be ruthless, surgical in your prioritization. It doesn't make me risk averse. I know some people would be like, oh, now's not the time to be doing anything risky. I disagree. Now is the time to be seeking value boldly.
Right. Okay. Because I was reading about Netflix and some of the projects. One of I'm forgetting the name of some companies who started in the beer market or in this time of recession, and they made their name. Just for an example, that there have been so many successful businesses that started during the worst times, and they took advantage of the opportunity to try their method and to see how things are going to work out, and they have been successful. So just from that point of view, that it's all about looking at the value aspect, and that taking advantage of the opportunity as well, that there is never a time that we cannot explore the market or we cannot take opportunities. They are there even in the beer market scenario.
So that's kind of what I would say to you is now is the time to be ruthlessly seeking that value, to be, as a product person, to be understanding who our users are, who need our services, and where we're failing to meet that. Certainly in mobile, one of the things that we're really focused on is frontline workers, and so people who don't have a desktop and still need to achieve all these things. Understanding that mobile is not desktop in miniature. A mobile user is not a desktop user. They don't expect to be doing the same thing, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very lucky. The leadership in mobile is really top notch. Beret Schaefer, who is the person who looks after mobile and APIs, she's just an inspiration. Jeff, who is our CDO, I think, Chief Design Officer, who kind of runs our area as well, special interest in our area. He's kind of a very inspirational, very, very human leader, which is,
Right.
very, very good. And, one of the messages we hear as well is, nobody is expecting you to work 200%. This isn't Elon Musk telling us, hey, it's Workday 2.0, hardcore commitment from everyone. They're saying no. We will ruthlessly prioritize. We will deliver the most value that we can, and that you guys are in. We want you here for the long term. So don't burn yourselves out.
Yeah. Right.
Responding to the dreadful situation we're all in at the moment. Just be focused in on the, delivering that value. And I think, like I said, I'm very lucky that I have very human leadership in Workday, in the area. Well, Workday has human leadership anyway,
yes,
but my area I can talk to and say very much so. I'm very lucky for that.
Oh, absolutely. And Mobile Org has gone through a lot of restructuring earlier when I was there in Workday. So there was so much of restructuring that happened. So it's interesting to see where Mobile is right now, and it's very exciting and interesting journey. Do we still call the team Chewbacca, Jen?
No. The team is now called Voyager.
Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah.
Voyager.
So we're called Voyager because we focus in on the grow area of mobile. So we're going on the work journey that everybody takes. So we care about onboarding, we care about the recruiting, we care about learning, and like how the talent is cultivated when you get there. So it's the work journey every single worker goes in, regardless of what industry they're in. Everyone onboards, everyone has to do compulsory learning, all that kind of stuff. So we because we're on the work journey, the guys picked the name Voyager. It's a new charter for the team, but the team, we co-created the charter. It isn't a one that's been handed on down. So we co-created the charter. We were able to put themes in there and best practice that meant something to the team. Also, because we're I hate to use the term satellite office, even though I just mentioned Voyager, but Dublin is the European headquarters for Workday, but the vast majority of the mobile org works in Canada and California and Washington. So we have an 8-hour time zone difference. So to a certain degree, the guys have had to become experts at asynchronous communication. And that was something we embedded into the way that we work in Voyager. In fact, a project I have been working on with a couple of our developers, the developers themselves, absolutely amazing. It's one of the first times I've actually heard someone say the time zone has actually kind of, what it did was it extended the workday that we were able to do on the project, because we were able to hand over to that team an hour evening, and by the time we got in the morning, they had responded, and we were raring to go again. Absolutely. And if we'd been in the same office, there would have been delays. So it was like, and that's all credit to the team. The developers on the apps on the California side, and on our devs as well, for making that happen. So you do have unique challenges with every team that you're in. The one thing I'd say as a product person is trust your team. Don't assume that what worked well in a previous company is necessarily going to be what is missing in your new company. I remember a company I started at, we did a trust exercise. And this trust exercise was, they kind of had the room, and they said, right, everyone who has zero trust, go to one side of the room. Everyone who has 100% trust and would trust someone they'd never met before who was working with them, go to the other side of the room. Everyone pick your percentage in between as to where you would be. And I always remember I was chatting with my boss. My boss went to the 0 side and I went to the 100 side. And the guy said to me, are you a very naive person? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, but you learn a lot more by trusting someone than you learn by not trusting them. You learn whether or not straight away whether you can trust them again.
Right.
I said, you will take forever to find out that level of information if you don't trust them.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that's another very meaningful lesson for my own life.
And, it's tempting to sometimes not trust people and think you know better.
Yeah. It's all about we keep assuming, we keep judging, and the step that we need to take is just let's go ahead and have that conversation. Just say that hello. The first handshake is so important.
I know from my own experience, I can tell you the times I haven't trusted people. 9 times out of 10, it's been based on my own insecurity.
All right. True.
That kind of, I don't think we should go down this avenue because I'm pretty sure my idea is right.
Right.
But in my head, I'm thinking, what if it isn't?
Yeah.
And I get exposed.
True. Yeah.
So letting go of my ego a bit really helped as well.
Yeah, because we do have our psychological conditionings and our own biases, and we don't really realize that they're really playing a role there.
Yeah.
But truly, I have been through that phase as well, Jen, that you just mentioned about that. We have those ideas in our head and we strongly believe in those, thinking that my idea is better or what I'm doing is better than other. But I agree with you. Wow, this is a wonderful conversation. It's everything that you have said so far, all the use cases that you have mentioned is making me think about, oh my God, that so many things that I still do wrong. I need to build up on my human. It's just about improvement. It's about learning from people who are experts and who have gone through the journey. And
if you don't look back on previous things and cringe a little bit and go, ooh, I wouldn't do it like that now, you're not learning. Like, I will look back on kind of the stuff I'm doing now in 5 years' time, and hopefully I will go, oh, I wouldn't do it like that now.
God. Yeah,
because
exactly.
I will have learned more and I will have got better. Like, there should never be a point in your time where you say, I've got it, I've got this.
Yeah.
Okay. It always has to be willing to improve, willing to get better.
Keeping that growth mindset alive.
100%.
Yeah. Right, but continue with collaboration, with unity, with trust, and constructive feedback is so valuable. You mentioned previously that web and mobile space are very different. Mobile is really complicated. It's a complex place to work in. So what do you do for your own knowledge and wisdom gaining into this space? Do you go to conferences? Are there any sources that you read or keep up to speed with on the regular basis? So what is like for a product manager in mobile to get up to speed with the latest technology and different frameworks and so on?
So quite often, one of the things that kind of I think we kind of make a big mistake on in product is we tend to look to our immediate competitors and say, hey, how are they doing it? And judge ourselves versus them. Now, I prefer to look at best in practice mobile as, nothing to do with what I'm doing in Workday. But how is this company that has a reputation for being best in practice in mobile, how are they doing it? How is, if I'm using a service, I'll always download their app and see how they're doing it. I'll always check their mobile web and see how they're doing their mobile web. Are they kind of responsive webbing it in a kind of, squished up way? Are they kind of using, one of these kind of frameworks? It used to be, I can't remember the one, that Bootstrap one that everyone used for a while. Are they just using that? Sometimes though, and this makes me laugh, is when you go onto a website page and you can see that that's been designed from mobile for day one. It'll even be a little hamburger now on it, and you'll be just like, lovely. You're like, web is not your top priority. I love to see it. Those companies go up in my estimation straight away. So that's kind of what I kind of do. I tend to focus in on what's happening in mobile as a whole. I'm obviously someone who follows the app dev conferences, the Google conferences. We're lucky in our team to have Raul, who is very close with Google, so he's able to kind of give me the headlines on that. So I would absolutely kind of, and one of the good things about COVID is we've all got a little more relaxed with remote conferencing.
Right.
Now, it doesn't kind of make up for not being able to network when you get there and all that kind of stuff. The speed dating stuff they do is not the same. But being able to get those recorded conversations, hearing about them, is very, very interesting. I'm also a big fan of UXDX as well, that happens in Dublin. I think that's kind of, really kind of valuable. I think as well is just using mobile whenever I can, and kind of seeing what's happening on that front as well. I follow kind of a lot of product people like Marty Kagan and the Silicon Valley Group. I follow Roman Pilchner, and just kind of product as a whole, because I think one of the most important things, especially when you work in a web company that has a mobile app, is you have to be aware of how web is working.
Right, definitely, because they both go hand in hand. Yeah, so as a PM in mobile, you need to know all the features and the capabilities that web is offering. So mobile person needs to have more skill set than a web person should. Maybe I'm a bit selfish here.
I think it's subject matter expertise. So whereas the web person might have subject matter expertise, and they might also have it in their specific domain, in the sense that, hey, I run the HR software as well. They have that, whereas I primarily have mobile expertise. So it's kind of, it's a bit different. So one of the things that I'll always push when I'm talking to my colleagues is mobile affordances, stuff you can only do on mobile. Does that add value? Does that add value to users? And the other thing kind of that I think is massively important when we're having those discussions is actually I have to advocate for the mobile user very strongly. So there'll be a lot of things that people think should be on mobile, and they'll say, oh, this user would like to use mobile for this, this, and this. And I'll kind of say, well, that user isn't a big mobile user. They might like to use mobile for that, but I have this user here who needs to use mobile. Right,
who needs to use mobile.
This is, someone who doesn't have a desktop, or maybe only has a desktop for half an hour a day in a shared office or something like that, or when they're not having to walk the shop floor. How can we, what are the steps? And so, you know where there'll be a big form that someone has to fill in to do something. What are the steps we can get rid of from that form that aren't necessary for the mobile experience? Oh, but they might want to, and they can do that on the desktop later. What do they need to do for this? And that's kind of the conversations that kind of we have. Any conversation always needs to be focused on the user. There's a lot of things we can talk about from a technology point of view, but I don't build software for technology. I build it for people to use. So, one of the phrases that sometimes I'll use in a refinement, and the guys know it's code for I don't like this, is that sounds technically convenient. And it'll be me saying, I understand why you all like it, but I don't like it because it's not helping my users. It might be helping you guys, but I see no benefit for my users. So that's kind of, it's good to have an understanding, and and that, but I really think that whenever I'm talking to people, it's really understanding the needs of mobile users, which we're really lucky. We've got an amazing research team. We've got an amazing UX team.
Incredible.
I'm a mobile user myself, but I have to remember I'm an office mobile user.
Yeah, exactly.
I have
Somebody
different
who's on the
needs.
field, it
Yeah.
has a different purpose altogether. Yeah, but as a PM in mobile, we all have to fight for what value our user is getting. We have to keep that in mind. To be an advocate of our customer or a user or a consumer every day.
Yeah.
And Jen, what would be your North Star? Do you have a North Star metrics or a KPI in mobile?
We do. I mean, we're always looking at mobile adoption compared to desktop adoption. We're looking at how that kind of breaks down on industries. It's one of the ways that we kind of focused in on the frontline worker, because we were able to say, hey, people in these industries, they are using mobile to a greater percentage than people in these other industries. What makes these different? We're able to dig into that and kind of really find that out. Then we were able to kind of compare the top tasks in mobile compared to the top tasks in desktop. No surprise, they are different.
Yeah.
The average time someone spends on a mobile device compared to the average time someone spends on a desktop, totally different.
Yeah.
It's things like that. Also, as well, there's other kind of indirect things that we can see. We can see, for example, that most desktop usage will be in a company device. So there's certain kind of security that's inbuilt in there. Mobile, we have the bring your own device to work kind of thing. Now, there are some industries where the only people who are allowed to use the mobile app are people who have company phones. Then there are other industries where actually we want our users to be able to clock in, clock out. We don't want to give them all phones. We want them to be able to do that on their own phones, but we need to be able to make sure they can do that securely and cannot access anything else in there. So we do have, based on usage knowledge, we do have other things that are kind of implied on mobile that we have to look at differently from desktop. And that's something we have to let our web colleagues in on. For example, we have expenses systems where you can take a photograph of the receipt because you're on a phone and it's great and it can all match up. Yeah. But you might have people whose phone is locked down and they can't take photos from it because it's a work device and they run all their systems through a MDM and the MDM locks down a bunch of things. So we have to be careful, even when we use mobile affordances, that we are taking into account those might be locked down for some people. So it's very it's not an exact science. I'm very pro data driven things, but I always see it as the start of wisdom, not the end of it, because the data can only really tell you what's happening today. It can't predict what will happen tomorrow.
In the future, exactly.
Yeah.
It cannot predict that, for sure. And Jen, so when it comes to gathering that data, would you prefer more Firebase and collaborating with the UX teams, researchers and consultants, or there are other ways that you would gather that data? I'm very curious to understand, because this question comes up every now and then to me. I've been put up that, how do you get your data?
So I'm very lucky. We have a metrics team, and I have a really amazing metrics analyst who works with me. And one of the things I regularly look at is I look at the top 20 tasks in my area, the talent grow area. And one of the things I'm interested in is the seasonality in there, because that would imply there are certain times when I should be doing something and certain times I shouldn't be doing something in those areas. Interesting as well, what tasks do we have in our mobile app that are never used?
Yeah.
Should those be removed? Should we have a conversation about whether maybe they're broken, maybe they're not fit for purpose the way but it's using that data to start a conversation. We also have an amazing research team. Now, the research team, sometimes that research is kind of, they've gone on kind of more of a, what I would call a fishing trip. They've looked at something and they've had indirect learnings that might be applied somewhere. They didn't go out looking for that, but they found it, kind of stuff. Then they've also, I've worked with them on very direct kind of research pieces where we've wanted to know, for example, how learning was used, and they've really kind of focused in. They've spoken to users, and that means when I'm reporting back to the dev team, I can literally play them a snippet of a user telling them the frustration, the pain point they felt at a certain point of view. Then we also have usability as well. That learning research took place next to a usability. I think so. I got generative and evaluative at the same time, which was fantastic. And we were able to see which of the research items were reinforced by the usability and where there was difference between the two. Because I think with the research, the users were able to talk more, and they were able to be less directed by what we wanted to find. So the two together were fantastic. Now, I was so lucky to get that amount of research in an area, and so it kind of gave me a lot of food for thought. I work places where you don't get that amount. You know, one of the things sometimes you have to do is you have to do a bit of guerrilla usability things where you may have a few mock-ups, you take them around the office, get some feedback then. If you do that, make sure you go to the support team, make sure you go to the sales team, because they will give you massively different perspectives than the other product people will give you.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. Wow. And then just one last question before we wrap up. So I see that you have joined Workday in the middle of COVID times. So what helped you the most at Workday to get, to collaborate with the teams, to get comfortable with when it comes to knowledge transfer as well? Were there tools and techniques? What did you love the best when it comes to that smooth onboarding and transitioning into a new workspace with a new team? Yeah, I'm just curious that what tools, techniques, and the structure that you found have helped.
I think the thing that really stands out to me about Workday is the culture. Like, I've worked a lot of places where they'll talk about the great culture, and we follow these 5 sayings, and it's all about this, and we get drunk every other month or something like that, and that's really the culture. Which is, don't get me wrong, I loved working at those places, but the thing I'd say about Workday is Workday treats this culture seriously.
Yeah,
it's
true.
They're not kind of you hear a lot about diversity. These guys are following through. I have worked places that are not diverse. I have worked places where you go into a workshop and everyone has the same opinions, and they'll argue over granular detail, but it's largely already been agreed before you come in. All that kind of stuff, because the highest paid person in the room has already said it. So, So I've worked in places like that when they talk about culture fit, they really mean you're not going to cause us problems, are you? Workday is not like that. They genuinely believe in diversity. Now, that in itself is a good enough reason to be diversity is fair and equitable, and that is a good enough reason to be diverse. There is a business reason to be diverse, and it's what I talked about earlier. It's challenge, it's different perspectives. If you just want to make software for middle class people, just get middle class white people in a room and they'll come up with some stuff. If you want to build global software, get global points of view in that room.
Global,
and that is what Workday does. And what it advocates for. And you will get better software in the end. 100%. And you will, I have to be prepared for every meeting I go into, because I can't guarantee what the outcome's going to be. I've worked in companies where I don't have to prepare for every meeting I'm in, because I know
what's going to be the outcome of that. Right. Wow, you said it so beautifully. Wow, I love this conversation. It's awesome. So may I ask you your fun fact, please? Because fun facts are
Oh, my fun
real.
fact. I actually have a few because I have to do a lot of Zoom
Please
calls, but
do.
my fun
Yeah.
fact at Workday is I have 4 lizards.
Oh my God, 4 lizards.
4 lizards. I
And
have a leopard gecko called Tabitha.
oh, that's
I
cool.
have a rankin dragon called Sylvester. I have
Wow.
a blue-tongued skink who really has a blue tongue called Theolonius. And we recently got a Schneider or a Berber skink who is
I,
called Sebastian.
wow, I don't know any of these species except gecko. But you'll have to share the one of the photos with me, please. I will love to
Oh,
see them.
they're they're
Wow.
they're very cute. They're very cute. They're kind of like having cats. They can
Oh
take
my
or leave
God.
you.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
tell me, so I had guinea pigs back then when I was in India, and they, would you believe, they lived for 13 and 14 years, had a really long life. And I'm an only child, and they were boys. So my mother got really, because she had to do everything for them. So she got really frustrated looking after them. I would go to my college and school, I'll come back and just play with them. But guinea pigs, they eat and they poo poo and pee pee. lot a lot. So she was tired of cleaning, but they became so smart. It was like you're connecting with another soul in them. It was just that emotions and connection that I had with those guinea pigs was very different. So
Mhm.
it felt like they don't belong to the laboratories.
Yeah.
They don't belong for experiments at all. So do you feel the similar connection with the lizards as well? Do you think
Like
that they're, yeah.
I will always kind of say to my partner, oh, he looks like he's in a bad mood. He's sulking today, and he'll be like, they don't sulk, and I'm like, he's sulking. You know, you absolutely can kind of see the mood that they're in,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I didn't get lizards because I'm a massive lizard fan. My partner's a massive lizard fan, but
Okay.
I have absolutely, I'm so fond of them.
Wow.
Like the first thing I do when I get up is I go downstairs, I check that they're all
Yeah.
okay and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
when because obviously we're hybrid working, when one of us is at work, the other one will
Yeah.
post them
Wow.
pictures so that they know
Mm.
kind of, oh look, he's out, he's
Yeah.
he
Oh.
misses you. He stood on his cork looking for you. So yeah, you do. I think
Yeah.
that's a human thing. You just
Yeah. Yeah, the energy
you
world,
form
your
attachment.
aura. Yeah,
Yeah,
attachment, absolutely. And also, we don't see the energy world, but the energies are there, which humans sense from,
yeah,
which animals sense from us, and the same vice versa as well.
yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, Jen, I love this conversation. And tell
It
me,
was
so
fantastic talking
yeah,
to you as well,
fantastic.
Shrimal.
I love it. And the 2023, how does it look like for you? Are you going to conferences?
From my perspective, at the moment, I'm kind of very happy with kind of what we're doing at Workday at the moment. I kind of see a lot of challenges for myself in the future. I think for me, when I stop learning in a role and just start doing a role, that's kind of when I get a bit bored and I kind of leave. I think that's something as I look through my job history, I can see that at that point I just knew the job.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't even need to think about what we needed to do. That's what and that, is kind of not good. So I think at one point I actually changed. I'd been working in gambling for like 10 years and I moved to an industry I'd never heard of just because I wanted to make sure that I still had some product skills and that I hadn't become a gambling expert,
Right.
because
You
that's
needed to
kind of
test
how I felt.
yourself. Yeah, right,
Um,
right. Yeah, and every now and then, I think we should take that opportunity to test ourselves, because we just don't realize that how comfortable we can get working in the same environment, and things can again get repetitive, and we start questioning ourselves that, am I really a right fit for the market, or how the things have changed? Can I really do and work in a different space, in a different business model, on a project? Yeah, as you said, that's true.
100%.
Yeah. So now
And
you have your trip to the US, so that's going to keep you
yeah,
busy. There is going to be a lot of engagement,
a
conversations,
lot of
and
engagement, super super focus on kind of that relationship building piece, making the most of the time that's out there. I'm actually someone who's quite introverted, so my social
Feel
battery
that. No.
is I think introverted people can be chatty and all that kind of stuff, but it's always like, what do you do to relax?
Yeah.
You go out with people and party up, or do you need to like play a computer game, read a book, chill out? And that's really kind of whether you're introverted or not whether you're loud or not. But that, so I'm someone who kind of needs I need to now go kill something on a computer game for 2 hours to kind of just chill out a bit, or watch a movie or something like that. So I think it'll be an intense week. I'm really looking forward to it, though. Really looking forward to seeing the guys and meeting them all on that front. But yeah, I should imagine the week I get back, I'll be very quiet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see when UXDX is coming out, because that will probably be one that I will kind of go for. There is Product Elevate as well, and obviously there's a big Workday connection with David Denham working in Workday, so I obviously kind of want to I don't know if I'll go to that or whether I'll just do the virtual on that as well. So there's that. Then we have some internal ones as well. We have Workday Rising and things like that, so I'll be looking to see how we can support the mobile org showing up well there as well. We actually David McGuinness, he was at Rising Europe, EMEA. He was at Rising this time. He was one of the mobile ambassadors. So
wow, this is incredible. He's a great servant leader. I have learned a lot from David. And I still pay gratitude on that. Thanks universe for bringing me great people in my life, great servant leaders. And I always say to Dave that he has contributed a lot in making me the person I am, from the career point of view, from the human point of view as well. I have learned a lot from him. Yeah. Oh, that's great, Jen. It's a wonderful conversation. Okay, so I think then we covered it all. But I would love to know more about your other fun facts. So first was let's cover that all.
So first there's the one about the lizards. Then there's the one that I was actually going to be called Pamela for the first 3 days of my life. I was actually Pamela Thornton, and then my parents looked at me and went, "She doesn't look like a Pamela. She can't pull that name off." So I got named Jennifer after a Donovan song. So that's one. And the other one is that I believed my father was the inspiration for Indiana Jones until I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and realised my dad and Nazis weren't in the same timeline. But my dad is an archaeology was a classics teacher. So he told me, "Oh yeah, George Lucas is my friend. He based that on my diaries." And I believed him as a child. Absolutely believed him. Told all my friends at school all that. My dad thinks that's hilarious. It was kind of embarrassing, but I totally believe my dad.
Yeah. Wow, thanks for sharing that. Thank you. I think this was one of the most joyful conversations.
So much. Absolutely. I always love talking about product. Always love it.
Yeah. And how smoothly it went. I mean, it was a great conversation. Just flew.
I think product people are like that, though. We just love talking about what we do. I think if you stay in product for any amount of time, there's a reason you've stayed. And you kind of have to love the job, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. And then happy Friday and a lovely weekend ahead. And
you too.
We'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Take care, Cheryl.